Okay, folks, we are back with the High Tech Podcast, and this is a wonderful first episode for us to record in 2525, even though you've already heard
25, 25.
25.
Wow, we like really fast forwarded 500 years in the future.
I thought I might be able to stick the landing, but no, as usual, here we are with a...
Folks, guess what? We're in 25, 25, and there are
25.
still no hoverboards. There's still no real hoverboards. We time traveled. They're not here. There you go.
Oh, that's good. As you can hear, we're back. It's Will and Josh, your podcast hosts. The High Tech Podcast is here with episode 179. As always, we hope you will do some of the simple things. Before we get into the big old fun conversations, make sure to subscribe, check us out on the socials, all of those good things. You can find all of our information at hightechpod.us, but on the screen right now, there's our socials, either at High Tech Podcast or at High Tech Pod. You can email us with ideas, partnerships, sponsorships, free stuff, not free stuff, but we probably won't pay for it, at inbox@hightechpod.us. And of course, all of this information and more at hightechpod.us, the website. There you go. Simple, easy.
There we go. Spiel done.
Go subscribe, please. Thank you. Yeah, YouTube, yes. All the good stuff.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. And also, I just want to clarify: if you email us and you've made a real hoverboard and you're selling it, we will buy that.
Okay, right, yeah.
That's undoubted. I don't know why I'm obsessed with hoverboards right now, but apparently this is my new thing. That's my personality now. Hoverboards.
Hoverboard guy.
Yeah, I'm hoverboard.
If somebody shows up with a hoverboard, Josh is in.
Yes, I'm totally in. I'm there. Yeah.
The Futurama meme where it says "shut up and take my money." That's Josh.
Yeah, essentially. I want a board that hovers. Why is that so difficult?
I mean, gosh, that just sounds like a hot take there, Josh. I mean, why do you want a board that hovers?
I feel like it's not, to be honest. I feel like it's not that hot of a take. I feel like
the whole concept of hoverboards is perfect and amazing. And when you see them in all the animations and movies and stuff, they say they stay like the 6 inches off of the ground. They're safe and it's fun. They move fast, whatever. But like in reality, how do you make a hoverboard that doesn't just throw you into the ether? Like, I think hoverboards kill people. That's my hot take.
You can swing it. I'm just saying. I don't know. I feel like we can make it happen. There's gravity, listen, I know science. There's gravity. So you just got to get enough hover that it overcomes gravity by a little bit. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm asking for like this much space of overcoming gravity. That's it. I feel like
it's starting to sound
honestly, I feel like I'm not asking for that much. That's all.
It's starting to sound like a Wicked sing-along in here with how much you said about gravity. So I think we should just move on.
Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Come on. Gosh.
Has it been on repeat in your household?
Well, no, not in my household. It's just every other
everyone
Instagram post by someone somewhere is like, look, I can sing Gravity now, and I'm like, oh yeah, but you can't though.
But can you defy gravity with a hoverboard? That's the big question. If you can't do it with a hoverboard, can you even do it? Did you freeze or did I freeze? Either way, we're back.
We're back. Yeah. Enough about Wicked.
Yes, please.
Let's jump into the topic. Will, what are we doing this week?
This week, folks, our episode is just going to be a string of hot takes. Josh and I have prepared a few each on each side here to bring to you. Oh, wow.
I was trying to make it flash. I realized that was not necessarily the best thing.
Some hot takes epilepsy on screen here. We're each brought a hot take. We're going to present it to one another. We're going to talk about each of them and just kind of go into depth, but we're going to rate each other. Like if Josh brings something, I'm like, that's not much of a hot take, then he's going to get the not. But of course, if it's pretty hot, then he's going to get the hot. And so we've got those little visuals on screen, some fire, some ice, and you'll get to hear us banter our way through these hot takes, maybe.
It's because we're trying to pretend like we're cool and we know the lingo, even though hot take is a little older, to be honest.
I'm just still the grandpa of millennials. Like I should be 60 years old.
Except
with
you
how I
try
treat the world.
sometimes. Like, like, okay. It's small branch off topic for a second, guys. We watched the new Lord of the Rings cartoon anime. Anime's more adult,
yes. Anime.
animated art feature, if you will. We watched
War
that.
of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, and we came out and we were all kind of talking about it, and Will goes, it was kind of mid. And I immediately looked at him and said, "You're not allowed to say that. Nope, not. You're done. Nope."
It was accurate.
It was, well, no, it also wasn't. The movie was fine. It was like, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't like
so
mediocre.
Mid.
It was, no, and then you're not allowed to, you're not allowed
Hot
to say
take. War of Rohirrim is mid.
Anyway, okay. If you're listening to the podcast and you don't think Will should be able to say mid either, please let us know somewhere. I don't know where. On the socials, through email, text me if you know me. I don't care what it is.
Smoke signals.
Make sure you let me know that you agree with me. Anyway, sorry. Okay, we're doing hot takes. That was not a hot take. Will's take was just wrong, and he used the wrong word. So it's different. It's a different thing. It's not that.
You're just coming at me because I've got the Riz, man. It's all right. It's all right.
See, now you're doing it again. This is not unacceptable. Unacceptable. You don't even have a TikTok. You're not allowed to say these words without owning a TikTok.
I have the login to our
that does not count. TikTok? It does not. It does not count. Anyway, so who wants to go first? We did not really plan this out very well. Who was going to do what first? Do you want to give your first one?
I think you should, since you're ready, and I'm the one that just am not allowed to say anything.
You're allowed to say things, just not words like mid or Riz. Or that a Lord of the Rings movie wasn't great. That's, it's unless it's The Hobbit. Those didn't really count.
Well,
it's fine. It's different. It's okay. All right. So, I'm trying to think which one I want to start with. I'm just going to start with hot take 1. Okay. We'll have some different takes on different things, and I try to keep them within themes of things we talk about on the podcast. Okay.
Yep.
So we talk about learning, development, instructional design, technology, productivity, all those types of things. So those will probably come into different parts of our hot take. So my hot take number 1, that's going to anger at least 50% of the population. Hopefully, I hope it does. I kind of wrote this hoping it would. Is that I don't think adult learners are really that different from any other learner. That's my hot take. Okay. Essentially, I don't believe in andragogy. And so this one's a learning based one, right? So I don't know why this is fresh in my mind. Nobody's really brought it up in a while. I just, I guess I just believe this, and I needed a place to say it, and I haven't said it from the podcast yet. So there we go. Well, I have no idea where you stand on this one, honestly. I don't really remember if you disagree with me or not. So
I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited to see your response to this. I know at least 2 people I work with who would be annoyed at me.
Yeah.
So
clearly, this adult learner isn't different from any other learner because I misspelled something when I wrote this on screen. So I've already corrected that. But that's fine.
I didn't even notice it.
This is fun. This is fun because my master's degree studies involved a lot of andragogy, and you had to very intentionally think it through, and I did a bunch of assignments for andragogical purposes. For those who may not be familiar, the 2 primary terms in education are pedagogy and andragogy. Andragogy coming back to the Greek roots, pedagogy for children, andragogy for adults. So the idea would be with andragogy that adults do learn differently than children or younger people. There's a part of me that would say absolutely they learn differently because kids operate differently than adults, right? Like kids, a lot of times you have difficulty with kids. Even as I say this, I'm laughing. Getting them to pay attention, getting them to focus, getting them to stay on topic.
That never happens with adults. Adults are great at paying attention and giving their focus. Historically, we're great at it. We're awesome at it. We're never bad at it at all. But
adults should have more capacity for self-control and whatever.
Well,
No,
and like
I pretty much agree with this. Like,
oh,
no
okay,
matter
cool.
each thought I'm putting through, I'm like, yeah, like adult learners, they may have they do have things kids don't have. They have more life experiences. They should have more emotional capacity. They should have more self-regulation. Should, but every adult's different. And so sometimes they don't.
Well, like, okay, and let's get into that for a hot second, because most of the time I hear this being talked about, it's usually in reference to not some of the stuff you're bringing up either. It's like because obviously, like, listen, I'm not saying a first grader is the same as, like a doctoral student, okay? I would argue they have more similarities than people like to admit, but they're not the same. I'm not going to be an idiot and say that. I'm not saying, and they're learning different content, and I do think, like,
absolutely,
you're gonna have to approach certain kids differently than you approach that doctoral student, for sure. They have different experiences, but most of the time that this idea that adult learners are different is talked about, it's always like, well, adult learners are more self-paced and have experience, and they need to know why their learning matters. Everybody needs to know why their learning matters. I don't care what age they are. A first grader, it's harder to get them to understand why their learning matters, but they still want to know why it matters. They pay attention to you if they think it's a cool topic or it's something that actually matters. Like, that's just human nature. Like, we pay more attention to things that we think matter or are going to be useful. Right. And that's not, in my opinion, that's not unique in adults. That's just motivation. Now, motivation might look a little bit different, right? Sure, I can probably convince a younger kid to do more schoolwork with candy than I can a doctoral student. But, like,
maybe,
sometimes when you provide donuts before class, everybody's there earlier. I'm just saying, like, some of the methods might look different, but the core, I think my argument is the core elements of good learning, they take on different forms for different groups of people. But that's not just age-based. It's totally based on the types of learners you're dealing with, the environment that they're in. It's just the environment and type of learner that a younger learner is, the form that good motivation, good explanation, not overwhelming them, all of these ideas, chunking out the learning, all of those things that matter both at adult levels and younger levels, they just take slightly different forms, right? And I think it's often referenced to kind of like, and maybe I'm wrong on this, Will, like, feel free to push back against this, but like, in my experience, it's so often referenced to make it sound like the learner that's above the age of 18 is so much more special than the one that was like younger and they need a different type of learning. Like, and that's, it's even learning. Like, to me, I see that in both places.
It's even like under 18, like they get a pass. Like, it's okay, just let them keep failing through elementary school, or don't worry, or don't bother. Like, but now that they're 18, or now that they're 25, or now that they're 32, now they're real learners. Like, I think I've heard that kind of stuff, that attitude where it's like,
oh yeah,
the kids were learning stuff before, but it didn't really matter. Now they're an adult and the learning is more important. The learning is more high stakes. I'm like, everything we're always all learning. And I think it's right to, I think it's helpful to have pedagogy and andragogy as terms to try to take different things into context, like age, like, working status, certain things like that. But I think that those are all just appropriate factors to evaluate in the motivation of your learner during your audience analysis.
Yeah.
It's not about pedagogy or andragogy. You just need to know these factors about your learners.
You know what motivates them. You need to know when they're going to get overwhelmed versus when they're not. The learning needs to matter. You need to, all the same stuff you would still do, have low stakes checkpoints and higher stakes checkpoints. Scaffolding. All of that core elements. It doesn't matter if they're adult or they're younger. Like, and maybe this hits me because, like, for a while, not formally in education, but I taught like middle school and high school. Like, I worked with middle school and high school students for several years.
Right.
And like, if they thought something mattered, just like an adult learner, they would listen. Like, it wasn't like they didn't listen. Now, what they thought mattered was different. And they had different life experience to bring than an adult. I'm not disagreeing with that, but their life experience still mattered, at least to them.
Yeah.
And like, if I brought that experience into helping them understand what we were learning, they learned better, just like an adult would if we leveraged their previous knowledge to come in with things, right? So like, it's, again, the actual acting out of it is going to look different for sure. That's not what I'm getting at, though, is that there's not like some core level of difference between adult and younger learners that I think creates this divide. And
I'm with you. I generally, I think I agree. I would say, though, like you kind of led this off with, I'm going to rate this a hot take because I think there's more people out there who would disagree even with us. Like again, my master's degree, a lot of the studies focused on it. Like, we know colleagues who
at the last job I was at, there are definitely people that would disagree with me. They had andragogy like written in a design document somewhere. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, that's my number one. I got a hot take. Look at me. It was hot.
Oh.
Hot.
Not a knot. Not a knot.
Yeah, we did not work. We did not work this out ahead of time of how we were going to keep talking about this. So what's your number one over here? What do you got? And they're not necessarily ranked in certain orders. I'd like to point out mine was not like, this is my number one hot take. Honestly, it was just the first thing that came to my mind that it felt worthy of saying.
So I'm excited for this one, but
yeah, you went a different train than I did based on what my initial glance.
Well, because this comes up. This comes up. I believe that VAK, which is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or otherwise referred to as learning styles, I do believe it is not scientific or it isn't research, right? Like, it's been proven to be debunked functionally, research-wise, to be significant to the learning experience, but I don't believe it's useless. I actually stand on the side that understanding visual learning, auditory learning, kinesthetic learning can be a helpful thing to learning, especially when, in my context, doing so much learning and learning training stuff in corporate context, I can almost only reach people at visual or auditory. Like, there's no way to reach people with tactile or movement based learning, right? I can't make them print things. I can't give them blocks to hold or anything. Like, I cannot make people manipulate things to assist in their learning, which means I have to think through and I have to focus on the visual nature of the learning, the auditory nature of the learning, and how it is or isn't going to improve their experience. Does that mean, but I think what it actually reinforces by me taking this stance is, like, it reinforces that this isn't research. Like, I'm completely leaving off the kinesthetic. And of course, my trained people, my learners in my context, are still learning. They don't need the K, but, I don't know. I think that I've gone across the spectrum of this in my life. Like, I learned about learning styles early on. I thought they were great. I went through my master's studies and read the research and found out that it wasn't legitimate research, and then kind of wrote it off for many years. And then I've come back around a little bit to say, like, well, yeah, it's not everything, but it's not useless. I don't know. Is this hot? Is this a hot take?
I don't know how to rate it yet. I gotta process this because I think it's well, first of all, the J-Man, Justin is like rolling over in his not grave right now. Like, he's alive, so he's just rolling over in the grass. If he's listening to this, I'm gonna have to make sure
rolling down the hill in his backyard.
Yeah, he's like, I'm torn.
It's tough. It's tough.
I think they're useless trash. I gotta be honest. They've done more damage than they've helped.
Sure.
Because you get like students, or like we see this in higher ed all the time.
Yeah.
And I think corporate too, some, where like, because it was so popular for so long, people like think this is a real thing. I'm torn on whether it's a hot take or not, because it's pretty well accepted at this point in actual education circles that it's not a real thing. Like it was like pretty actively debunked recently,
Right.
like in the last like decade.
Right.
So like, is it a hot take? I think the hot take part is that you think it's still useful. It depends on the group
that's
that
it.
we're in.
That's it.
I think it's like if we're just like, if we're working with some of the professors I've worked with who don't have formal education background, that's not too much of a hot take. But like, if you're in the education world or in a group of instructional designers, well, depending on which instructional designers you're working with and where they're from, it's a hot take. It depends. I'll give you a hot take on this one because I think for me it's a hot take because I think most people would either say it's totally a real thing or they would say it's completely useless. You're kind of this middle ground of I don't think it's a real thing, but I think the concept can be helpful. I'm on the side of I think it's an absolute trash fire that shouldn't be dealt with anymore.
The hotness is fire and it should be burning.
That's hotness is fire because if I hear one more person go,
I'm not a visual learner.
You can't give me that text. I need I need a PowerPoint slide because I'm a visual learner. No. It's just the mass amount of text that instructor gave you was bad learning. It had nothing to do with that it was written. It had to do with the fact of how they did it, not the medium that it was done. And also, I'm very much of a take of like multiple mediums is better. Like at the end of the day, I think the thing that was trying to come out of that was that like multiple mediums idea in there. What it ended up just becoming is like another version of the Enneagram where like I'm a type of learner. If I take this quiz, I'm a type of learner. Here's my box that I fit in.
Oh, I haven't fought with anybody over Enneagrams in a while. I could use a good Enneagram fight. This will be fun.
I'll give you a hot take there.
What's Sam doing?
She's at a Christmas party for work at this moment in time.
Let's talk about Enneagrams. Okay, yeah, no, I know it's not. I know it's been debunked to be a scientific fact. It's not fact.
Yeah.
You cannot ignore that people perceive the world through these things and they can be helpful. I mean, there are students, there are people, real people who are blind or deaf. They lose one of these senses and it impacts, they have to begin to learn in different ways. And so I just don't ignore it. I don't ignore that.
That doesn't make them a learning style. I might get in trouble for about to say this, but like because someone is deaf does not mean they're a physical learning style. It's a thing. Like
yes, but but you could say, right? You could say someone it doesn't learn kinesthetically. Like that's ridiculous. You don't just learn because you can walk in circles, or you don't learn because you can do jump rope while you recite a poem or something, or you don't just learn. But it's like, but there are people who only learn by feeling or touching or engaging with the real world. And it's either from a disability standpoint, there's a potential there, or there are people who really, dyslexia. There's other reasons why people don't do well with like text-based or visual-based learning, and they need something.
But you're all picking accessibility issues right now. That's not like a
all right. So martial arts, right? I cannot teach somebody how to punch well by having them read a piece of paper. I have to show them how to punch.
Again, this is
it has to be a physical thing that they have to do.
Into this hot take for a hot second because I was about to bring this up. This is the example that's always used. It's always something like I can't teach somebody how to do martial arts through paper, or I can't teach how to do scuba diving through paper, or whatever that may be.
Right.
But that isn't a style, a learning style. It's the thing you're trying to teach requires a certain type of tactic of learning because it's a very physical thing. But that student, the thing I have a problem with about learning styles, while I think it's trash fire, is that it makes the student the learner the dictator of what the medium should be. Not the learning itself. Right. And so like I'm a visual learner, so that must mean I learn better everywhere visually. No, you learn certain things better visually.
Absolutely.
Like a workflow or whatever you're looking at, or a process flow or something.
And
you might learn that visually better, or you might learn how to create that sculpture better by seeing it. But that's not because you're a visual learner. It's because that specific objective that you're trying to learn has a component of visualness to it that is lost if you don't have that there.
So actually, I think you've helped make help me understand my own point and solidify my point for this, in that what I said is actually kind of not true about martial arts, but it kind of depends on your proficiency. So I've been doing it for a very long time. I can read something and interpret it and understand it and probably do it pretty well without ever seeing it before, right? I know the components and the structures in martial art that build up to the bigger things, and I could read something and then do it without having being shown. But like you said, some people learn things better. So I've had students who, no matter how many times you sit there and you show them, or even grab their own hand and do it too, like they don't get it. But you start talking it through, and everybody's different. And that's where I do agree with you. It's not about trying to set up the best visual way to teach, or the best auditory way to teach, or the best kinesthetic way to teach. I just say that, like, you can't ignore that there are people and there are differences. Somebody could be visual with lectures and then kinesthetic with martial arts. Somebody could be visual with martial arts and then kinesthetic with something. We are human and we learn different ways. And I don't think we should ignore the fact that there are reasons to handwrite notes, and there are reasons to, do walk and talk things over. There are reasons to, listen to things on repeat for memorization purposes. Like, these are just all examples of learning tools that work. They happen to be, like you said, multimodal, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Yeah.
I do not ascribe to the learning styles theory that people have to be met at the VANK to actually learn. I don't ascribe to that. But I think it is still useful to remember those things exist, because you can kind of lose the baby with the bathwater. Like, if a kid wants to stand in the back of my class while I lecture, stand in the back of my class. I don't care. It's not hurting me. It's not hurting you. Hope standing makes them more engaged. That's perfectly fine with me. But somebody who doesn't have an understanding of kinesthesia, or the point of having the body engaged while doing something, might say, sit down. You have to sit in my class. I don't think there's a reason to say they have to or shouldn't sit. If they're in the way or distracting people, that's its own issue. That's an environment issue. But stand in the back of the class and pace. If that helps you learn, it helps you learn. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, we will agree to disagree.
I think this is a hot take. We've got a good
hot take on the usefulness of the practice itself. I don't disagree with the multimodal component of it. But with that, I think we'll just leave that for everyone to decide what we got going on here. It was definitely a hot take. That definitely brought up more debate than my other one. Okay, so my hot take number 2. This one, I don't know if this will bring up debate or not. I don't know where you sit on this either. I think it depends on the conversation where the group we're talking to be honest. Where this might land for you. So here's my hot take number 2. We'll get to some tech stuff here in a second. We're still in a little bit of learning education thing. I think college / learning. I'm definitely, if you want to hear a take on, while I may still work in higher ed, the direction that colleges need to go and the changes they need to make, you can go find our episode somewhere. Is college dead or something like that? I forget what the episode was called.
Is higher ed dying?
Yeah, is higher ed dying? Yeah. I believe college and learning should be more than just career prep. That is hot take number 2. This is a conversation I've heard many times in my fellow millennials, that they are complaining about having to learn certain things or take certain courses that had nothing to do with their eventual career, which I totally get. You're paying a lot of money for college, but my hot take is college and learning should be more about that. Sometimes it's not just about learning hard skills. It's about learning in general, learning how to adapt and learning new ideas and things that broaden your understanding and generally make you better at what you're doing, especially those of us who end up in some kind of knowledge work of some kind. What I mean by knowledge work is not like teaching. I just mean you're not physically building something. The work you are doing requires knowledge and requires Just a different look to your workday, not better or worse. It's just different. I think there's more to some of those classes or other learning that you do, and even continual learning. I think a lot of people get too focused on learning just the skills for their work, and not generally bettering themselves. And so I think it's about more than that. That's my hot take. That I think most millennials, at very least, would disagree with me on. And Will looks like he's about to disagree with me on it, but I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if he's just warming up his hands because he's cold. I don't know.
It is cold. This window is so cold. My feet are freezing. Folks, it's snowing out. We love it. So I don't know that it actually is snowing this moment, but there's snow out there. Anyways,
I hope not. I don't want to shovel anymore.
You probably hate me because it's kind of a maybe. It's kind of a yes and.
No. You need to pick a side. Stop playing the games. Stop straddling the fences.
I'm a fence sitter day in, day out. I love the fence. I love it. The fence is my place to be. Yeah, my knee jerk is absolutely not. Like, I think that one of the things that's happened, around the student loan debacle and everything is like the price of education, the cost of education has actually skyrocketed. Now, I'm actually in line with all the reasons you offered, Josh. Like, everything you were talking about, I'm actually pretty in line. But when you say it should be more than just career prep, it's like, well, colleges end up having the freaking rock wall, and not just because there's a rock climbing degree, whatever. They end up having, they spend a lot of money on things that are non-academic to try to make the campus experience, the college experience, to take the fancy pictures and reveal the big new things and whatever. It's like, I do believe there's a lot in academia that is extra to the learning that is not beneficial. And more specifically, it's not beneficial measured against the cost. Against the cost.
I would clarify, my statement is not in support of rock walls. I think my statement is in support of learning.
What I heard is like
just career prep. Like, that's
what I heard from you is like liberal arts studies and stuff.
Yes, I 100% agree that college spending is ridiculous. And I think the biggest problem is not the amount of years we spend there or the people that they hire or inflation. It's all the ridiculous stuff that we've acquired on campuses. Now, I will say students can complain about that all they want after they've paid for it, but they keep asking for it. This didn't just, no college was like, I need a rock wall out of the blue. Like, somebody was like, somebody did it and more students went there. So like,
right.
I think we'll see less of that as the pocketbook changes for college. Right. I think we're seeing more and more students more worried about the price than they are about what's actually the experience.
The only other point that I have against your hot take is that a lot of folks still come out of their college degree without practical skills for the field they're heading into. And that's where I think academia needs more career preparation, that it actually needs to be better at career preparation. Like if you're committing to a career and you go into a 4-year degree and you spend $100,000 or more to do that, you should be job ready. I believe you should be job ready coming out of it.
Let me ask for an example, because I hear this all the time. The students come out of college not prepared for the job that they're looking for. What's an example? Because a lot, and I'm not pushing against that idea, because it is true to a certain extent. Colleges could always do better at preparing people for the actual jobs. But a lot of the complaints I hear from people are people complaining like as if these students are going to come out of college with the same experience they have working in the job for 5 years. That's just not a reality.
Well, like, of course,
I know that's not what you're saying, but like in general, the complaints I usually hear are like, they didn't know how to do this thing. Well, of course they didn't. You only do it at your job. Like, college wasn't going to train them on only doing the thing that you do at your place.
I mean, yes, to be contextually relevant to like Wawa or Bank of America or an actual employer, right? You're not going to learn but like, I have family members with their businesses of administration and their degrees in international business and their degrees in analytics and stuff that just don't have jobs in those fields because they couldn't get the jobs in those fields. I myself got a bachelor's degree in teaching English, and while my big reason for not continuing in that field was personal, I do remember graduating, walking around campus and reflecting on like my degree, my career, my degree experience, and going like, what the hell did I just spend that money on? Like, what did I just learn? Like, yeah, I feel like I had good sense for teaching English, but I couldn't remember my second language acquisition course. I didn't have all the information from, my pedagogy 101. It's not like I walked out and had a hammer and a saw. And I know that's not true of knowledge work, like you kind of the point you were saying, but like, I want to make sure that people who are spending that kind of money are coming out with something they can use, or it should be cheaper in the first place, in the expectation that there's still more work to do after college. I think this is, unfortunately, your hot take gets conflated for me with all these other societal issues around this. And I'm all for the liberal arts studies and more knowledge-based studies, not just, if you're going to do a counseling degree that you only take counseling classes. I'm okay with the other stuff. I think it's good. I think there could be room for more than just the things we've already been doing in the academics. But it's that if we're talking career prep and the balance of that, like, I think there's so much around that in academics that's lost.
But like, that's where I push back. Like, you went into teaching for a little while. Like, you went into a different space. Like, and the choice to not go that direction was not because you didn't have the skills to go that direction. Right? Like, we talk about pedagogy on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I know that your master's degree influences that too, but that's another level of education that you got in that space. And I'm gonna say a real hot take. And in defense, on the other side, you picked a very specific degree, which was to teach education as a second language.
Right.
But you went and taught in another country for a little while.
Yeah,
you did.
I did.
And you have skills that other people don't have in this area. You know what I mean? Like, if I went and asked one of our wives any question about pedagogy when we all graduated college, you would have had a better answer than the two of them. Like, that's right. Sure. Like, so
yeah.
And you didn't have that answer before you went into college, I don't think, to a certain degree. Like,
that's fair. You got me.
Right. So
you know what? I think that's hot take rating. I mean, like, you've kind of played the game here, man.
I'm just saying, there's always this argument that there's two parallel arguments happening here all the time, which is colleges should do better at career prep. But then also it's like, I went to college and then I never took the job that my degree's for. Well, like, you can't have it both ways. The college can't over prepare you for that specific job, and then you don't do that job. And in so many cases, I talk to people that didn't do that job. Now, it's not always the case. I want to be very clear. There's a lot of diverse experiences out there. But so many of the people that we know, it's not like they didn't go take those jobs because they couldn't get them. There were other factors for why they didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
like, I don't know. I'm not defending colleges entirely. I definitely think there could be better prep. I definitely think the overspending is a big issue and pricing is a big issue. But I think we sometimes underplay the general skills that are more applicable to multiple different types of jobs, right? Like, I've had students go, why the heck am I learning logic in this area? Well, you might be better at understanding logical arguments, making your argument, debating, all of those things, which are incredible skills no matter what job that you have. This is the only kind of thing that I kind of push back on, is that some of those general things are just as much career prep as some of the other things. We hear so many times workplaces saying we're not hiring younger people in certain dynamics because they don't know how to just like troubleshoot or like problem solve on their own. And some of those come from the more generalized skills. Like, that's
part of why I think we should still be teaching Latin, like, come on, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Elvish is an incredibly useful skill.
Elvish, Sindarin, right.
Anyway, we'll stop there.
All right.
That's the end of my hot take there.
Next one. spreadsheets and word processors. Okay, so Excel and Word or whatever, but like spreadsheets and word processors should be mandatory training for all new hires. Like this is a big L&D take of mine.
Okay.
I believe that they're like I can.
He can't
There
even
are
start
colleagues. There are colleagues that I wonder sometimes how they maintain their employment because they don't know how to like format text. They don't know what a cell is, or rows and columns. I'm like, in the digital world, in the world of tech and software as a service and whatever, and just 2025, folks, you're going to use a spreadsheet or a word processor at some point in your life, whether it's Word or
Okay.
Google Sheets or whatever. And I think that if you're in business, these are critical things. So for L&D, like I'm in an L&D team or in that space in corporate where we do stuff like prioritization skills and goal setting. Okay, cool. Yeah. Like pretty soft skilly kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I've not seen anybody's careers or lives being changed by this material, but then they can't like, use an Excel spreadsheet to evaluate how many of 10,000 learners completed something successfully against, a certain benchmark goal of 5 to 10 points, right?
Yeah.
Like I need a spreadsheet to do that. And spreadsheets can do that in seconds. But I've seen people, Josh. I've seen people who open up a spreadsheet with even 100 rows of data and just like start to manually click through each row, trying to like count it manually. I'm like, no, never count data manually. You're a human. The computer is a computer.
So here's I'm gonna throw out a wrench. This is in your hot take for a second, right?
Yep.
Whether it's a hot take or not, I haven't decided yet if this is generally. It might be a hot take because I'm not sure the majority of the population thinks about this. Is there like a can we put a not thought option? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the majority of people think about this are millennials at work. Like, that's like the majority of the people think. Anyway, okay.
Right.
A little wrench in it. Is it?
Throw it away.
Should it be mandatory in the age of AI?
Oh.
In 2 years, will those skills be completely useless? Like,
so I spent an hour and a half today in a spreadsheet trying to use AI to do all the work I was doing. Like, I was doing the work, but I didn't know the formulas that I wanted for what I was trying to do.
You were asking it for help.
So as I was working on the spreadsheet, all right, move this around. All right, I've got this data. Okay, I've got this. I had 2,739 rows of data, so almost 3,000 rows of data. I'm like, all right, I need to know this. I need to know that. I'm asking it the question. So I had to tell GPT, this is what my plot sheets are. This is the structure. These are the columns, blah, 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 blah. And not literally ChatGPT. I don't use that at work, but like we have an internal LLM that we use. I was using Vertex today. But I had to tell it all this information, then work it through piece by piece. And it felt like a lot of work to do because I had to explain so much, but I do agree / I do think you're right in that 2 years, I won't have to explain it. I could just put the spreadsheet in and tell it.
I know higher level ChatGPT, you can just drop Excel documents, like Excel tables into newer, like paid versions of ChatGPT, and it will visualize and explain the data for you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to formalize. Like,
I personally was scared to do it for like 2 reasons. It is my internal one, and I wasn't worried about like the data confidentiality. But it's like it's 3,000 rows, and I was like, I don't know what ours can handle. I don't know it well enough.
Yeah,
you're right. Like, I could have probably.
Like, I know a team that needs to visualize extensive data for an institution that is currently in the process of finalizing a deal with ChatGPT teams so that they can drop all the data and get it to do all of it for like data queries for them. Like, I think we're already there. Now, that's not really part of your hot take. That's unfair. I'm like coming in and being like, you're like, here's a hot take of what people need to learn. And I'm like, Terminator. And I like drop it down. Like, that's not. Yeah, we are in 25. So maybe it should be talking about it right now. I don't know.
Into the future.
here's the thing. I don't necessarily disagree with you.
It's not that hot of a take. Yeah.
I don't know if it's that hot of a take. Like, it depends. If our entire audience was boomers, hot take.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that one, because I think the
chilly in here.
Of people under a certain age would probably agree that wouldn't be a bad thing to learn. I have so many faculty members who don't know how to use Microsoft Word or know how to use Excel. And now in my head, I'm thinking, oh, Will, you don't need to use Excel. Just get Airtable. But
it's just another spreadsheet processing platform.
I can't show you on the podcast, but I will show you when we're done the interface that I made in 10 minutes that now aggregates all of our support ticket data and can tell me how on average how our response times versus resolution times per semester. And ticket volumes per person and category of ticket that is now live set up. And I didn't need to do one Excel thing to do it. I dropped the data in there and I just built it in Airtable.
Beautiful.
So anyway, I always say not just because I think most people, I don't disagree with you. I think those skills would be helpful, especially at places that don't have the money for tools like Airtable or paid ChatGPT right now or their own LLM. Right now, some people listening to this are going, wait, you could get your own? I didn't know that was a thing. It is.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. So anyway, I like it, though. I have several faculty members who I wish knew how to use Microsoft Word more and Excel as well. I don't see it quite as much with Excel in my current job, although I see too many people putting data into Excel files on their computer when I'm like, there's a web version.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
Like that we don't have to be keeping separate files, but
we should not be working in offline files anymore, folks. It's 2025. It's 25, excuse me.
At one of my last jobs, I agree with you. People could have had more training on Excel. Some of the weird stuff I saw people doing in Excel workbooks that I was like, you don't need to do that. Like, just go in, filter. Like, there's a filter in an Excel. Did you go do that?
Yes.
Did you know that was a thing? You don't have to, like, if I see one more person, Control F to look for all instances of something, my head's gonna explode. You just don't have to do it. It's not a thing that you have to do anymore. So anyway, okay. Hey, my final hot take. It kind of leans off of a joke I just made about doing online. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I don't. It might not be. I was really struggling on my third hot take. I had a bunch of ideas, but I was like, I wanted something a little bit more tech oriented. And so here's my hot take. Okay. It's very specific. So Microsoft, if you're listening, this is for you. Okay.
We've got a guy in the chair and he knows. Yes,
I want him to hear this. Okay. I think Microsoft should entirely do away with the Microsoft Word program on computers and focus on just Microsoft Word online as long as it has an offline mode. That's my caveat. Okay? This is a very long hot take. Okay? I think it's a hot take because I have heard no one else say this to me. And a lot of people like their Word documents and don't like Word online. But let me sell you for a second, okay? Just everybody come here, okay?
Wait.
Get in close, okay?
Gotta get.
I think people don't like Microsoft Word online because it's not like Microsoft Word on the computer. But it could be. There's no real reason that it's not. I think Microsoft's just too busy focusing on both. So I say get rid of it. I'm kind of basically pitching Microsoft should go Google Docs style. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, get rid of the program. You can still have a download on your computer that you use Word, but it's just Word online. That's all downloading Google Docs onto your computer does. It's just like a button now that you click to access Google Docs. It doesn't. It's nothing special. That's my vibe. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's a hot take? Do you agree? Disagree? Do you think I should be the CEO of Microsoft? All of these are open options.
Yes, please, and then take me to your island in Belize or whatever when you own it. I'm I'm coming out strong. In fact, I'm coming out so strong. This might be a hot take. Okay, this is a not take.
This is a not take?
I just think that like you're so right, but it's also like this. Like you're right, and it's just like the simplest, easiest thing, but it's never gonna happen. Microsoft's not gonna do it, and it's
don't say like, never. We probably 10 years ago. So if somebody had said Elon Musk is gonna buy Twitter and then he's gonna make the name X, somebody would have said that's not a take. That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, but I'm from 25, and I can tell you it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened. We have hoverboards, but Microsoft
we have hoverboards, and Microsoft went back to
offline. Paper. They actually just went paper.
They released this new thing. It's called a typewriter. And
yeah, they're a paper company now. They're like The Office.
I'll show it for a second for you, but like I feel like it's a good point. I'd love to see it. It's not like spicy. This isn't like change the world knowledge here, you know? It's good. I agree with you. I agree.
Think it would change the world, personally. That's
my thought is that if Microsoft drops Microsoft Word, like the normal one, like what would it take for them to do that? Like if they announce it, at the end of this year, blah, 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 like, okay, the pitchforks, the riots, so then it gets pushed a year. Like, okay, at the end of next year, and then that time comes around. Like they would just like delay that forever. So if they don't do that, and just like tomorrow, boom, we're getting rid of Microsoft Word. You can only use our Word online processor. I bet you there'll be people that just be like, oh, well, I'm never typing again. Like there are people who would just not write anything anymore. Well, and then there'd be others who just go to Google.
You think the entire business of writing would be dead if they got rid of
hot take? Writing dies.
Lies on Word. That's Will's hot take. Yeah, I don't know. Like what they go to they could figure out a way to do it. You click on a Word file, it just like opens up a Word online. But nobody knows, you know what I mean? Like it's like
right.
Don't tell me they can't do that. That's a thing. That's totally a thing.
I hear you. I just don't. I agree with you. I don't think it's that spicy. That's my problem. I don't think it's a hot take.
I like this take that the entire world of writing would die if this happened.
That's it.
Like
right there.
No books ever again. Like in 25. You know, little Sally is going to be like, Dad, what was a book? And Dad'll be like, well,
you see, Microsoft.
Back in my day, there was a program that you typed in that like didn't work all the time. But people wrote in it. And then they were like, online. And everybody was like, sorry, no more books. That was... It's like
this is the meta narrative we need.
Yeah. It was the anti-printing press. I'd watch this movie. I would get behind it. Like the day the word died. That would be the title of the movie. It would be great.
The word died.
The
Dibs.
Word died.
Band name called it.
That's more of an album name, I think. Day the Word Died. I think that might be yeah.
And then each song is just a different word in a sentence or something. You know, that'd be
this is a good idea. I like this.
That'd be the style.
Okay.
And it's gotta be post-core, like emo core or something. Like it's gotta be moody.
Oh yeah, no, it's gotta be like super moody. Yeah. Like the Day the Word Died is not an album where you know they sing about it's Friday. You know what I mean? Like that album. Right. This album is more
practically Monday Forever. That's what that album would be.
Espresso is not on this album. This album is like it's dark, you know. It's one that starts with I pulled my pen out, you know. This is
Espresso?
I don't know. That's a popular song, right? It's a thing.
Oh, is it?
It's a song. Do I know what song that
you were talking about coffee?
No. This is like a song.
Why
I don't remember the
artist.
I don't know. Okay, go look it up. See, this is why you can't say mint. You don't even know that. Yeah.
Will, sit down. You're an old man. We all know it.
Okay. Do you still have one? Do we still have one from you?
I do, but it kind of sucks. So
let's toss it out. We're already like at an hour here.
Put it up here. Yep. All right. So productivity tech. That's just a term I use for like keyboards, mice, things like that. Productivity tech should be mandatory. Like, if you're using a mouse, okay, wait a second. Okay, back in the day, mouses only
it was just the printing press, and espresso was just a drink and not a song.
I can't get my mouse up there. Mice used to just have a clicker, 2 clickers, right?
Yeah,
and then they came out with the scroll wheel.
Yeah,
and then the scroll wheel got a click, and then it got lights, guys. And then I broke it. This is getting off the rails.
This episode is going a weird direction right now.
Plug my mouse back. Oh, that just no, we're good.
Okay.
So mouses got better and better because they kept adding functionality to control the computer better. And now, like, I don't have it in reach, I don't think, but my work mouse, my Logitech MX Master 3, can practically do wizardry. And Josh has a mouse with 10 buttons on it at least. Like 12. These kinds of tools. 12. There you go. They're critical to like working. A meager 10. Gosh, so sorry, dude. I didn't mean
technically 14 if you count both the clickers.
I'm sorry. I'm just such a pleb for downgrading you with a mere 10.
Yeah.
But like productivity tech makes work better, faster, easier, stronger, harder, faster.
Is it another song?
I know this song. I just don't like it. It's actually tough to watch people who like don't use their keyboard. They only use their mouse. They don't have shortcuts. They don't even use Control C and Control V. Like people who are right clicking still to copy and paste. Like it boggles my mind that we use anything less than the most productive tech we can. You're giving me hot take on this?
I'm giving you a hot take on this only because I don't think I find anybody else quite as passionate about it as you are. Like I listen, I like productivity. I like my mouse. Do I think more people should use some of that stuff? Sure, some should. Do I think it should be mandatory?
Everyone. Yes, mandatory. At work.
With that. I don't know. I don't know about that one. There's are struggling just to use the regular features of their mouse. I don't want them to have one that has 12 buttons on it. Like they're never gonna use those 12 buttons. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna
hot take. They should have to use it. Okay. I was first introduced to the MX Master 2 by Sean Pyle at LBC, maybe at LBC. And so that would have been the year of our Lord 2015, 2016, right? Anno Domini. And it took him a little bit to convince me, but then I bought one. I bought one with my own money, and I loved using it. And then when I went to Penn State, they gave me one. And when I went to
they gave you one at Penn State?
For work, I gave it back. Like I didn't get to keep it, but I used one. I know,
but like even getting one for work is fancy.
Yeah. When I was at LBC, I bought it, and then Penn State gave me one to use, and then Calibra.
But I've worked for large organizations, and they did not give me an MX. They gave me a plastic mouse. So I gave it back.
Was part of my. It was my starting gift, my starting package with my current job, and so I've been using it that long, right? I told Marissa, my dear and loving wife, my spouse, my partner,
when he says this many things, he's about to make a critical comment.
I told her about this thing in the year of our Lord 2016, and I was like, "It's the next best thing since sliced bread. You have to use this." Okay, she fought me for years. She would not use it. Okay, she would not use it, and I'm here to tell you that somewhere around 2021, 2022, she bought one, and she agrees with me. She believes that everyone should have these, and she talks about her colleagues all the time. She's like, I just can't understand why they don't use these mice. I'm like, yeah, you didn't understand it for 10 years either.
I can understand it. If work doesn't give it to you, the MX is not a cheap mouse. Like it's not.
Well, her work bought it for her. Like they buy
her work bought it for her. Like if your work is not,
but none of them will do it. So
yeah, I guess it's true.
I just think it should
I
be
don't know
mandatory.
about mandatory. You know,
It should be mandatory.
it feels a bit dictator-ish to me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you know, 25, there will be no writing because Microsoft Word will have gone to online. So
you'll need mice to do all your things. You won't have a keyboard for
all your things. I don't know. You know, well, those are our hot takes for this episode. The hot takes everybody's had clearly that are very important. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot of things today. We have indeed. As we move forward. Enough of that. Okay. Next week on the High Tech Podcast, we will be giving MX Master Mice to everyone. No, I'm just joking. That would be incredibly expensive. No. Next week, we are going to be talking about using AI to cut back on manual effort a bit. So we'll be taking a look at it from just like a work standpoint, but also like learning and development in ways that it can help in some of those areas, some experimental stuff. And we will be sharing a tool that we've talked about already, 11 Labs, but they just released some new features that I think is worth bringing attention to. So we're going to talk about that next week on the podcast and maybe show some examples of how it's being used for those of you listening. So you want to make sure to check that out. Again, reminder, find us on the socials at High Tech Podcast. You can also email us, inbox at hightechpod.us if you want to let us know how you think about things. You want to be on the podcast. You'd like to send us a hoverboard. You know, one of those options, it's all great. You know, you want to tell Will that he's being a bit intense with productivity tools. It's all up to you. You can hit us up at inbox at hightechpod.us. And then a reminder, our website, hightechpod.us. You can find episode pages for all the episodes. We'll link to some of the stuff we've talked about, even in this episode there as well. So you can check that out. All right, folks, this is a wrap on another week. Empowering minds.
Embracing tech. Cheers.
Cheers.